You have never got the right to ask anybody that question ever. It is never appropriate to ask that question. I'm very available. I'm approachable. I may be 6 foot tall, 300 pounds. I got a goatee and a mustache, but don't worry about me. You can approach me. I promise you, I'm not going to be offended. I would not have been offended by the question if it had been asked of me directly. Yet, it wasn't. It was asked in a hush-hush tone. Let's just find out. Is he gay?
There was a concern that I had that as the plans for this event unfolded, I was stunned by what seemed to be a disregard by the leadership in Enfield, who determined to hold the event at the high school despite the fact that our entire board, that all 9 of us objected to using the public school facility for this purpose. These objections were communicated in a leadership meeting last week and fully supported by every board member. In light of the possibility of this being a potentially volatile event, the objections were based on maintaining the safety and privacy of each and every Enfield student, as it was possible that there would still be some of the students on school grounds for the purpose of athletics or other extracurricular activities. So it was encouraging to see the good turnout, but we need to maintain the safety and privacy of our students as a first priority. And the position of this board should not be so lightly disregarded. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cushman. Mr. Hamre?
Thank you. First off, that last statement about this board in agreement on the decisions of the location of tonight's meeting was absolutely false. There was no unanimous decision about that made.
Can I ask for you guys to quiet down?
There was no unanimous
Please.
decision about the location of the meeting, and what was just said is a complete falsehood. I know because I'm up here, and it was not a question posed to me at any point. Should that have been? Don't know, but it was not. So the claim that it was a unanimous decision about a meeting that took place to address a cultural issue in our town, absolutely false, straight out of the gate. Let's put that to rest. That leads me to something I was going to talk about later on, but I'm going to, in this comment section, but I'm going to address it now because it's kind of tied in, and I'm a little fired up right now, so I apologize in advance to those that may be offended. July 9th, we had a parade in town to celebrate the 4th of July weekend in town. As the elected officials of the Board of Education, we are invited to attend the parade and march representing the Board of Ed as a group. I also celebrate and help facilitate, not facilitate, pardon me. I help, and again, I'm a little upset right now, so I apologize if my words are coming a little jumbled right now. I support the Enfield Pride organization. I've made statements to this board and to this public from this seat that I believe everybody has a place in this town, that all are welcome. While we were waiting for the parade to kick off, I was with that Enfield Pride organization who are participating for the first time as a group because they are now confident and comfortable enough to do that in public, to represent who they are as a group, as a demographic that is protected under the Constitution. And I was with my family also supporting that group. While I was there waiting for the Democrats and the Board of Ed to walk past at the beginning of that parade, Mr. Ungeier took it upon himself to ask our chair if I am gay. Now, let me be very clear about this. And this is something that I put in an email to Mr. Ungeier to ask about directly to him following that conversation. The question I asked him was, actually, let me just paraphrase this to 3 points. First, you have never got the right to ask anybody that question ever. It is never appropriate to ask that question. Second, now that you feel comfortable asking that question, please explain yourself. And the rest of it, again, I can forward it on to anybody that wants to receive it. It's an email that was addressed to both, to John initially, to Mr. Ungeier. His response included the chairman and Ms. Acree, who was in that conversation initially. I didn't get a response. I got an excuse. Let's talk about this before or after the meeting. Before or after this meeting tonight. I said, no, we're going to talk about it during. Because it's an official representation that we're participating in. We're at a public event as a Board of Ed, representing the town. The conversation should have taken place directly with me, because I'm there waiting to talk to anybody. Well, I'm very available. I'm approachable. I may be 6 foot tall, 300 pounds. I got a goatee and a mustache, but don't worry about me. You can approach me. I promise you, I'm not going to be offended. I would not have been offended by the question if it had been asked of me directly. Yet, it wasn't. It was asked in a hush-hush tone. Let's just find out. Is he gay? It is ironic, though, that this comes from the gentleman that has been spearheading the idea of a root cause analysis to get to the problems of an issue that has been put to rest through many, many conversations involving many layers of the administration and the proper procedures on which things are handled as a Board of Ed. The situation that you are trying to get to the root cause analysis of through that Parent Advisory Committee and the preceding whatever version that was, that issue has been addressed ad nauseum. It's been done. But it's going to be continuing to boil up because people are continuing to try to get it to become something it isn't, something that it never was. It was a situation that was addressed in the proper channels through the administrative process and through the disciplinary process of this district. It's done. So I do appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. I apologize again for taking so long. Thank you.
Okay. I'd like to start with a clarification. Leadership did meet on Friday, and there were many members of the leadership committee that did express their concern about having the event at a school building, just due to the fact that we have a lot of students that were either, whether it was for the school or for a town sport or a town event, that would be attending or in attendance at those buildings. I had also heard concerns from Ms. Pickett and other concerns along the board. If Mr. Hamre, if I misrepresented you in saying that the entire board was concerned, I apologize for that. I apologize for you. I know that you have concern for me, as we all do, about the safety of the kids, so I probably misspoke for you, so I apologize for that.
That Mr. Cree had mentioned about the pizza thing. I've heard about this earlier this evening, and I want to be very clear about this. It is not something that is originating in our schools, this pizza thing. This information is not something that was brought up through a frontline teacher in our schools. It originated somewhere else, through a national source, no doubt, that had an ulterior motive to cause dissension among the rank and file teachers, perhaps, maybe, but definitely the parents. So I want to be very clear about that. Consider your sources when you're talking about these policy changes. Consider your sources when you're thinking that maybe we should take action because this thing is very upsetting. And yes, if that thing was being taught at our schools, I would be just as upset as any responsible parent would be. But in the case of this issue, this is not something being taught in our schools, just like all the other things that are supposed to be all fired up about, and is not occurring. I've learned a lot after the fact. I have. I knew nothing of what I spoke of when we had our virtual meeting until after the fact. Shame on me for not having that awareness that was out there in the Facebook realm. I don't apologize for what I said because I stick to that. I trust our administration and I trust the processes when things don't go right. Those processes are in place. We are the last line in the disciplinary process for this district. We do not have any knowledge of these things until they come to us through the proper channels, until something comes up like this where it just explodes. So again, I make no apologies for my response at that time. I did not know about the situation at that time, and I do appreciate the efforts to bring it to my attention, I'm better for it. I thank you very much for your time on that topic. And in most opportunities to speak, I take that opportunity to go into great detail about something profound. Tonight, I'm not going to do that. So I appreciate the opportunities, and I look forward to hearing the rest of the board comments. Thank you.